Last time on CiP.
I wouldn't want a buddy chum thing. I want a date with
New York's hottest club is spicy.
Everything about the Golden Girls.
See, some of you are drinking. That's not the answer.
Oh, fully, I am 100% in it for the drama.
a man chained up in your basement? No, no, it's yeah.
No, that's the best one. I'm talking about the other two.
Right. No, yeah.
Like, oh yeah, chainmail. Yeah, that's awful. That's cancerous.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so
unless you're Frodo Baggins, yeah, it's pretty useless.
Right, because his was like, but the mithril that even counts. Yeah. It seems like bizarrely like it's a fetish. Like some blacksmith had a fetish and found
that's a hot take.
Sell it. Is that a hot? Yes, it is. Fair enough. And we know a blacksmith that can prove it too, but it just seems.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, we do. But here's the question: Is it chainmail? Is chainmail worse or better than leather armor?
I'd say, oof. Yeah, I think probably leather. But then again, if back in the day when they were fighting, on battlefields, they didn't have talcum powder, so I'm pretty sure both led to a lot of chafing, right?
Okay, Ethan. The thing is, you wear the leather over your clothes, so there's no chafing.
You tell me this now? You tell me this years? If I had known this so many years ago. Wow, I thought we were friends, Ari. I thought we were friends.
We're learning new things.
Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Happy to help.
Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Ethan and
right.
leather.
Well,
That's where I'm gonna leave that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Good, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We apologize.
Immediately bring up the chafing. That is intriguing.
The thing is, I can see Otis's face. Otis is like, please don't say it. We're all thinking it, but don't. You have to say it out loud. And of course I did. Of course I did.
Well,
You're you, so you have to. It's in your contract.
It's in my contract. It's in my contract.
Yes.
So speaking of contracts, segue. We actually had a contract with our dear partners, our lovely partners, our extremely handsome, well-groomed, celebrity lookalike partners at NWM Nerds with Melanin, Otis East and Company. We are joined by Otis East himself tonight. Otis, thank you so much for being on the show.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, we are dear fans of yours. We appreciate your time coming on this show.
Yes.
And what we did actually in advance, for those who don't know, we had a poll put on Otis's Facebook page and through his social media with the Nerds with Melanin group. We had a poll letting the fans on that page determine vote for which genre we would do this week. And they not unanimously, but overwhelmingly voted for fantasy. It was like over 57 votes, and over half of them were in fantasy. So it was which is fine with us. We love fantasy. It makes perfect sense too. So we will gladly let that be our genre for the week.
Yes.
So we will,
So we're doing fantasy. So we've already got that locked in. So now we're at setting. So now we're gonna roll for setting. So we did the poll for the genre, and now we're going to do the rolling for setting. What is that again? I know I ask every goddamn week, but what is it again? It's 10, 1d10?
Yes, it's 1d10.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Or 1d10,
right.
Sorry, language.
There we go. Okay. 8.
8, all right.
8.
Here
I am, the demonic bingo caller again. 8.
No, I love it. Sorry, let me bring it up here. Whoops, I had the wrong page. I had the wrong wrong page. We do so many pages here. Where did I put it? Sorry.
And here comes the portion of the show where Ethan stumbles around for a little bit and then just pulls something out of his ass. He's just like...
Leather. It's leather this week. No,
leather.
I'm just happy I knew what 1d10 was, because I just learned how to play D&D
Ooh.
Like
hey, nice.
Congratulations.
Yes, some of the moderators in my group taught me how to play, and we've been playing in our Discord server.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I want to ask you about your game while Ethan fumbles with pages.
Yes. So like how long, like how many weeks have you guys been doing it? So far?
We had to take a break because life hit and stuff. But when we were going, I think we got up to it was like up to 7, 8 weeks.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
You're hopefully trying to get it restarted starting next Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I'm excited for it. I got up to, I think I was level 5 by the time we stopped playing, but I don't even fully know how the level system works. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's okay. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Especially those that play it, that have no idea. So Nate, you say we're at 8, right?
Yes. 8.
Okay, and that's forest. So fantasy and forest, it's kind of writing itself. But,
again, it's seriously
easy. Like we just call it Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Call it Sleepy. If we're going dark fantasy in forest, call it Sleepy Hollow.
And let's make sure we do a really goofy ass name. So I'm thinking Ichabod. Anyway, so now we're doing time.
Thank you. I'm 100% on board with that.
Doing
and
time.
That's always the basic D3.
Yeah. Though D3s don't exist, so we do D4 and then we ignore it if it's 4 and I roll again. And it's 3. So it's in the future.
Future
4s. This sounds dope already.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
This is like a Shadowrun situation, except in the future. I mean, forest. The future forest.
Perfect. All right. So this week we are using the
some
abridged
machine fireflies in the forest.
We can do that. We can definitely do that. There's nothing we can't do, and nothing Ari can't draw in her sleep.
That is false, but thank you.
We are doing the abridged archetypes list this week.
Okay.
So
and
it's
how
only
many on that one?
It's 100.
100. Okay. Okay. So
now,
I'm gonna go ahead.
I'm not sure how you want to play this out. Yeah. But.
So yeah, well I'll just throw 5d20 and then whatever number we get, well, you just go with there. And like maybe this week will be the week the bell curve doesn't screw us. So we'll find out.
I believe in us, and also the heart of the cards. I mean the dice.
The dice. 42.
The answer to life.
Well, not exactly.
42.
Not exactly. Yeah. But so 42 is that's random number for Hitchhiker's Guide. Killer. Killer.
Okay.
Which we have not done. And also because this obviously is meant to be in theme with Halloween and everything of that nature, so it's perfect. A fantasy futuristic forest movie with a killer.
Yes. Okay. All right, going for the next
I've seen this movie a few times. Okay.
83.
Nice. Way to smack that curve in the face. A spoiler. it's literally spoiler. Now, spoiler has a couple of different meanings. But
spoiler.
We have not drawn that before.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
Like the spoiler of a car? Or
possibly. I mean, it is the futuristic archetype.
Yeah.
It's the humanoid conceptions of spoilers on the internet.
God, it's trolls.
Oh.
So fantasy trolls.
Trolls.
Fantasy trolls.
Oh God.
Actually, I take it back. Never mind. I don't want it.
Visions
it's
of
too close to
neckbeards.
home.
Anyway.
Oh, neckbeards. Why? It's just shave.
Okay, so I'm going to throw it again and see what we get. 51.
Okay, well, the bell curve is an asshole, but I did switch up these things. Perfect. It's Mama's Boy. Mama's Boy.
Oh.
Mama's Boy. All right.
Mama said knock you out.
She did. So we got a killer, a spoiler, and a Mama's Boy. We can have some serious, dark, twisted, Hannibal, Mads Mikkelsen type fun with this.
I'm into that.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
as am I.
Okay.
I'm all about it.
As am I.
I think I got the story already.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, squad. Typically, what we do, Otis, is we just freely brainstorm. There's no wrong idea unless it's mine. So go ahead and toss it out.
So brainstorm. I can throw my idea.
Yeah. Throw it out.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah.
All right. So if we're doing a forest, let's switch it up and not do a typical forest. Let's do what is the big park? Central Park. This is Central Park, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
And there's a serial killer that's living in Central Park, right?
Okay.
And what he does is like since like it's in the future, like people have evolved beyond using cell phones, so they have like a little like glasses on that like act as their
Like
phones,
Google Glass.
like like they're
Mhm.
they're like
Yeah.
scrolling through Facebook.
Mhm.
So like maybe there's a local network for the Central Park server or whatever, and the
Mhm.
serial killer is throwing out a let me think, what is it called, like a clickbait. He's throwing out this clickbait in the server for the
Mhm.
for the Central Park. And like when you click on the server, it shuts down your glasses, and like it'll takes you to the place where he can kill you or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I see. I see.
Oh shit.
I like
That's
that.
dope as fuck.
Yeah, the problem is you had that loaded a little too quickly. I don't want to go to the second part with you anytime soon. But yeah, that works. That works really, really well. I like the idea too
Like-
of him. Yeah.
So is our main character the killer then? Are we following the serial killer as he's committing his crimes?
It can be a
We could follow the
two-hander.
mama's boy.
Yeah, I think what it probably ends up being is that the most compelling character might be the killer, the serial killer. We'll just call him Mads for now. But I think what will also happen is if we're involving the mama's boy is probably going to be the one that's the most. If it's a yin yang situation or a nemesis situation, the one that's most likely to who seems the most opposite is obviously a mama's boy. So it's,
Consider this.
Yeah.
Most serial killers have mother issues.
Oh,
So
Ah.
are you going this route?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing this.
so
Ari.
we could combine the two.
We could. I have no problem with that. I like the
Yeah, I
idea
like
of it
that.
actually being the killer versus a mama's boy killer versus a spoiler. Because a spoiler, if we're going futuristic fantasy troll, and I mean, we won't call him a troll, but it's someone who's able to foil this killer's plans because they're spoiling them literally by name.
Yeah, I like that.
They may not
Oh, I
even
dig
be
that.
The
necessarily.
Mr. Crew.
Sorry.
You say it's one of the Mr. Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, it doesn't have to necessarily be that this person, the spoiler, is a quote unquote like good guy or what have you, but they're able to like most of the best detectives, except for like Hercule Poirot. Sometimes they aren't really good guys; they're just really, really good at solving crimes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Now this is a fantasy, so we can actually have more fun too. It's a future fantasy. So one element that O brought up, of course, was the essentially like super Google glasses or whatnot that you can able to look through the internet just with your glasses or whatnot, and you can do other types of tools or things of that nature as well. One thing that I kind of wanted to deal with is possibly getting into what the killer uses, not getting too graphic, but like what would a futuristic fantasy weapon that a killer would use be?
We have so many options. Like this could be, especially since it's fantasy, you could have the killer be, I don't know, like an elf or
Yes.
to borrow from D&D and
Yeah.
tiefling or something, but that's very stereotypical. So
That's that's the 2020. All right, 2020. Let's progress.
Well,
yeah, I know.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Otis, it looks
I'm
like you had an idea.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just adding on to what I was saying before, just to add the element, fantasy element to it. Once you click on that little clickbait thing that he's sending out, it opens up a literal portal that you walk through, and it takes you to his lair.
Oh,
His lair.
love it.
Yeah.
So okay. So it could be. So if we're doing this, then he'd be more likely to be. I can see it in your eyes, Nate. Are you thinking like more of a warlock or a magic user,
Yeah.
as opposed to yeah.
Well, one thing I had thought of, because I recently read American Gods, and so I'm about to spoil
Good.
a little bit American Gods. So anybody scream if you are upset about that. Okay. No. Okay. So there's a portion of the story where the main character is sent by a character to go stay in this town in like rural Illinois or like Minnesota or something for like a couple of months. And so there's like a whole chunk of the novel which is just randomly in this place. Well, what happens is there's a murder of a child, and through little bits through the story, you find out that every year a child has died in the winter, has gone missing, or basically a child has gone missing every year and when the main character starts looking into it, this has been for like 100 years, like or more. And come to find, it's this character. Essentially, it's a I don't know if it's like a goblin, I think, or a warlock or something, who's like hiding in plain sight. He's like one of the citizens, but he has to kill a child every year to stay powerful. And that kind of idea popped into my head while you guys were talking about that. So maybe like a character, something like that. Like obviously not the child to stay powerful thing, because that's a whole different thing. But that was just an idea that popped into my head.
Well, yeah, because it's in the genre of I think if I remember correctly from that story, it's meant to be kind of akin to the Rumpelstiltskin-esque type of, not a curse, but a thing he has to do every year, like Rumpelstiltskin. Kids. So yeah, it could be that works as well. If essentially this in this futuristic fantasy world, if this killer is basically our version of a Rumpelstiltskin-esque demon magician, essentially, that has the ability to transport people to a different place or to like his dungeons or whatnot, and he's able to kind of kill them there. And I guess part of what it is too is he doesn't have the power. Maybe he's not powerful enough to kill. Maybe he is small. Maybe he is a very small, like Danny DeVito-esque type of person, seemingly so, and that he needs to have his real power. He has to be in his dungeon or in his domain, essentially. Is to do something there or something. So part of the game is getting his bait, luring them to his this area.
Yeah, maybe he's less powerful the further away he is his lair, or like the source of his magic or something.
That's the source that's the source of his magic. Yeah, that's the source of his magic.
Yeah.
And Central Park is a good place because Central Park is a large domain in of itself. But so you can even nowadays you could get kind of offed in Central Park and no one would know for days. So large.
Now, are we gonna like we mentioned? We're talking about Central Park. Do we want to make it Central Park?
No, not necessarily. Not Central Park exactly, but kind of in the idea of this fantasy world. It's a futuristic fantasy, so I see it as being more of a. I'm not sure Otis may disagree, but being kind of a more prominent. Like if there were elves, this would be the kind of place that elves would congregate. It's a very nice, very fancy, very large. Like Rivendell, but
Rivendell, but Central Park.
Yeah, Rivendell, but Central Park. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I was wanted to clarify is because there's a couple of landmarks within Central Park that are very interesting, and I think that we could make the lair one of those things ish. Like, since we're not doing Central Park, we wouldn't want to do like the I think it's called the castle. I think. Or something, because there's like or there's the restaurant that used to be there that was in Ghostbusters that now sadly no longer is there.
Yes.
But like maybe having it be like maybe it's like the kitchen of that restaurant. Now, granted, again, it wouldn't be that restaurant Central Park, but maybe something like that. So that way it seems like innocuous, but like it's a kitchen of a restaurant that is worn down and hasn't been open for 30 years or whatever.
Yeah, and it can almost seem kind of creepy because it seems that it's been abandoned in this place, this large area, whatnot. It may still be operating, it may not be, but it seems if kids pass by it, people steer clear of it because it seems kind of dangerous. And part of the game that this, I guess we're calling him more or less this warlock, warlock kind of a goblin-esque creature. Part of the game is getting people to this area, and obviously he uses the futuristic tech and Google Drive and other things to get them over there. One thing I wanted to bring up too was just to expand upon the idea of the mama's boy briefly was dabbling with the idea that he himself may not be as partial to the children or the victims he's luring there. He may be luring them there for his mama. His mama is actually a much larger entity that he's feeding. He's almost
creepy.
Renfield from Dracula. I mean, he still is her child, but he's getting these whatever children or whatnot for this other creature essentially.
Yeah, I'm getting like Gollum and Shelob vibes.
Ooh, perfect. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's this restaurant of sorts, or this place is where he's trying to get them to go to. This cove. It's called the Central Park Cove, whatever, right now. Okay. All right, cool. And so now that we have somewhat of an idea of the motives, we have the motives for our killer and his essentially some of the tools he's using, the futuristic tech or whatnot to spam people into coming there. What do you guys have any ideas for our essentially our hero, I guess, or our protagonist, how he's going to combat this? What our spoiler will be doing, or what race they'll be. If this is D&D terms, D&D world, what race they might be or whatnot.
Well, I really like the idea of them being a detective, like you said. I haven't really thought beyond that necessarily, but I want I kind of want to lean into the stereotypical detective type, but with more of a spin, like with Slate Nash.
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure. You,
Maybe not the hard drinking, but I don't know.
Well, yeah,
No, yeah,
I think. I was going to say leaning into almost like the what's that called? Noir. A little bit of like the noir tropes. Like I know we're not doing a noir. I know we're doing fantasy, but I think playing on those tropes a little bit, I think would be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most private investigators, PIs, do have noirish tropes. It's just how they come up. What are you saying, Otis?
I was actually thinking going a slightly different direction.
Oh, okay.
What about having it not necessarily a detective specifically, but this is a person that was investigating, like, the spam, thing in the area. Like, saying like, yeah, people have been getting this spam. Why are they getting this spam? So like, walking around like, all right, this person got this notification here. This person got it here. Where's the centerpiece for like where it's coming from or something like that?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that's interesting.
I like that.
I like
Maybe
that.
he's like So are you thinking that it would be his job, or is it kind of like he stumbles across it and is
I thought stumbles across it.
very interested in
it.
Okay, yeah, I'm super into that.
Stumbles across it. And also the first thing I thought of too when you said that, Otis, was he stumbles across it, and in true fashion, it's a fantasy. It may be that he himself, because elves in this world, let's say go stereotypical, elves are so pristine and so prissy and so like perceptive that they notice these things. They're OCD essentially. He's very OCD, almost like Will Graham or whatnot from Hannibal. And so he notices something's off. Something is just slightly off, and he's trying to express it to other elves or other detectives in this world, and they don't believe him. They can't. They think he's just doing the same nutty thing that he always does. He's like, no, something's off. If you track all these different things, all this different data, all these things, all these little things line up perfectly, and no one else can see it but him. And so he kind of gets obsessed. He's also trying to track it down through all this gigantic Rivendell of a world, trying to find this one little small cove where this one little small warlock creature, the size of a hobbit, basically, is doing these things. And it's very hard for him. So we're seeing him try to track all these things down, trying to piece all these things together to an obsessive degree, like a noir detective would or whatnot. It's very hard.
I like
so that's kind of, if we lean into the trope that way, he's an elf. That's kind of an asshole elf that no one likes. That's very obsessive.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm getting I'm getting almost like okay. So Ethan, you've got to stick with me here.
Let's dance.
Jamie Foxx in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, before you dive away,
why? God alive.
Because the reason why that comes to mind is I'm now, granted, not as poorly done.
Nothing's as poorly as done. Nothing's as poorly
better.
done.
That, but better.
Fairy tales that bad.
But like I get this feeling of this guy, like this elven type creature who's supposed to be like, because as you said, like the typical thing is like they're OCD. They're
oh
like pristine,
no,
beautiful.
You're talking about Jamie Foxx before he becomes Electro.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Nate, all right.
No,
okay,
no.
Let's dance.
Well, hold on. Okay. but better done.
Go ahead,
right.
Go ahead. Okay.
So what I'm thinking is I'm thinking like it's like this kind of nerdy guy who's an elf. So we're already kind of going a little bit off the stereotypical thing, but still pristine, whatever. But I just get this feeling that like society is just looking at this person like, you are a bug on the bottom of my shoe. Why, and this is the hot dog guy looking at him thinking this. So,
in the central Riverdale.
Yeah. So that, so not necessarily, like suspenders and holding all those like blueprints or whatever the hell it was he was holding. But like,
so many choices.
Yeah. Like I just get that vibe. I'm just getting that vibe off of that. So
I
like,
agree.
I
like that a lot. I like that because that's done in anime too a lot, where the very upright kind of detective. He's a pretty boy, but he's very much extremely nerdy at the same time. So yeah, that works. I can definitely see that working. Obviously not nowhere near Jamie Foxx and his gap that gets fused together by electric eels. But that kind of like you said, a bug, a nail, because that is against trope. Whereas an elf that is despised by his own kind or whatnot, even by other people, as opposed to being put on a pedestal, he's seen as a bug because he is so neurotic about everything. Again, like the Will Graham type from Hannibal. So yeah, that can really work. But also, that's kind of the idea too, where it almost takes a bug to find a bug kind of thing. Where that's why he's able to track down this smaller hobbit warlock kind of a creature when no one else would detect these kind of things or notice these kind of things. Okay.
Yeah, I like that the idea that you had of it takes a bug to find a bug. In fact, I think it would be interesting. And again, I realize I'm jumping ahead to a later.
That's how we do. That's how we do.
But yeah, it's part of our thing. But having it be where maybe that's kind of the thing where it breaks the case, where he realizes like, okay, I need to stop trying to think like society wants me to think to find this guy. I need to think like, okay, if I were a horrible piece of shit and me, like if I was me and a horrible piece of shit trying to kill people, where would I be? Where would I go? And then that's what carries him.
I agree. And I had a vision, and I never had to use this at all. But I had a vision of him literally being in the park, trying to track down this killer. And he sees like actual piece of shit with a fly on it, and he thinks like, he's like, where would a piece of shit go? A piece of shit would go to the. He tried to remain hidden or something like that. It rewires his. Look, listen, it's Monday. It's literally you brought up Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx in Spider-Man 2 is like 12% of Rotten Tomatoes. So we're allowed to have some free balling.
Yeah, well, hey, that's what we do. I come up with like a random ridiculous, thing, and then I give it to Ethan, and then he runs with it to normal places. But
to normal places,
quote as Ari tries to contain her laughter.
Fly on shit notwithstanding. I actually the idea I kind of like the idea. Maybe not shit, but maybe like garbage, maybe trash. Maybe
that's what I was getting ready to. Yes, my brain was getting ready to say like he actually sees a guy in a trash truck or something. Yeah. I was getting there. Yeah, but there's always a. All right, I'm fine. I'm done. Otis,
are you?
Will you replace me on the show permanently? I'm going to retire now.
Hey, I actually got an idea, WikiC. I got an idea. Since we're going with the whole mama's boy thing, he could see a bunch of ants carrying something towards their
to a queen.
That's a great.
Damn. What the fuck? That's fucking great.
It's like literally had an orgasm at the same time. Yeah, it works. It works.
Oh man,
it works.
Yeah, but no. Well, I think that's great. Like, I think that actually could be the thing that causes the reveal. That's like of that the mother exists.
There's always in every detective story. There's always something that's a twist. There's a way that he sees something, and we can do it, of course, in true fashion, where he just sees the ants moving towards it. And we don't know what sparks in his brain, but that's it kind of thing. And he's able to kind of trace it or figure it out from there. So yeah, we can save that put in our back pocket and put in our notes for the night. Perfect. Yeah, that's it. That's what we'll do. Perfect. Good job, Otis.
I like that.
So Nate brought up Jamie Foxx and his gap in his teeth. I brought up a little piece of shit with a fly on it, and Otis turned that into gold. So there you go. That's the process. That's the process.
It's well, it's the raw materials. Put them in. Okay. So what's
fertilizer?
The
fertilizer.
The fertilizer. So I like. So I really like this idea. Now I'm curious, like what. So we have the fact that this character is spamming people essentially, and then instead of taking their life savings, they're taking their life. So like what? I guess I'm trying to like pin down a little bit on the technology. Like where are we in the technology?
I have an idea for that. I do have an idea for that. And Otis, if this conflicts with your idea, you're still more handsome than I am. Essentially, we're in a fantasy world, and it is in the future. So it could be that the tech essentially, he's feeding you fantasies of what you actually want, delusions of what you actually want most, what you desire most. Part of his magic that he has, him and his mother have, is to understand what your ultimate desire is. So, say for example, if you're a person that is lonely, he can feed you the idea of, if you come over here with me, like a siren or whatnot, I will. It's a beautiful woman or whatnot, a beautiful creature. Go to that person. If you lost your daughter, your child, he creates the illusion of actually that kid saying, "Hey, Daddy, I'm over here," and they come to that kind of. He's able to, with his tech, essentially create somewhat of a delusion or a fantasy for that person. I mean, it also fantasy, also keep it in line with that genre too. It is fantasy. It's dark fantasy. Which you
I got it.
Okay.
All right. So the way the clickbait that he sends out is to oh yeah, see your fortune, right? Like when you click it, you start seeing things like whatever those desires are. Like say if you had a daughter that died, you see her name in like the first sentence, and then you start scrolling more, and then next thing you know, you're walking into this cottage or this wherever the lair is, and you don't even notice it happening because you're so enticed and scrolling.
It's like a trance. It's like a trance you're in, like a spell. You don't even realize you're doing it. Essentially, you're following a trail of breadcrumbs.
Because that's how it is in real life. When you're scrolling, you don't even notice where you're going. Yeah. You're just scrolling and scrolling.
Well, because you said the scrolling is like the glasses everyone's using these days too. So they're literally walking as they're scrolling. They have to keep it going. Yeah.
Okay, I just thought of something that actually could tie into some stuff that's happening in today's world right now. So I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news recently, but Elon Musk has been really into a type of computer chip that gets grafted onto your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what he's kind of going towards. Like I could be getting the details wrong, but essentially that's the end game, is getting something essentially implanted into your brain. And what I'm thinking is, since this is in the future, this could be like the glasses thing, like it could be that. And when you click on that thing or whatever you do, the hand motion or whatever to click on that link in using our parlance, it essentially infects you with a virus. It could be a magical virus or whatever, but that's what causes you to then get entranced and then sucked into the cove and then sucked into mama.
Right, and that's what it basically boils down to, is that it is people are because everyone can be spread out so much further around the world, not just in this quote unquote forest. It can be anywhere else, and he's able to hobgoblin-esque hobbit creature guy is able to send these things out, and he's able to pinpoint. He's able, with the spam he sends out, he does enough research to figure out what kind of victims are desperate enough to do these kind of things. So I guess in this world, people know not to open up spam filters or whatnot. But he knows how to target certain people with certain phrases or certain things that are seem enticing enough to get them to open it up. And once they open it up, essentially, they're kind of put into this spell, and they keep looking into it more and more and keep walking to it. And so anyone also, if you were to observe or watch this person, because obviously our spoiler, our detective, whatever, we haven't established what gets them onto the case in the first place. But in this world, it could be that so many people just seemingly are still, everyone is using this brain chip or whatnot to go through their mail and everything else. That's perfectly fine if everyone does. No one thinks anything of it. And so as people are walking into Central Park or whatnot, constantly all around the world, no one is going to stop them to think, There's no way to figure out who is infected, who's not. No one seems any more suspicious than anybody else. It's virtually impossible to trace this kind of a thing. So that's a perfect idea. I like that idea, Nate. All I had to say, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what gets our main character onto trying to solve this, because like
What tips
we've
him
already
off?
established we didn't want them to be a detective, but
Right.
So what if he's a hacker?
That's what I was.
Or
Yeah,
something.
yep. That's what I was going.
okay.
That's what I was going to.
I mean, we could just go full Mr. Robot and have him a security company or something.
That's
where
That's what
he
I was definitely.
Oh,
thinking,
yeah.
Randy.
Yeah, totally fun. Mr. Robot is a fantasy show, basically. Modern day fantasy.
Yeah, it is sort of.
Love that
It's
show.
like Hannibal. It is kind of it exists. Okay, but is the main character a wizard or is he a human being? Because he can't. That's not something that you can do in reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we can definitely do that too, where he is kind of the same neurosis that hackers might have, or kind of the same way that hackers are seen as less than in the world, or if you were a hacker trying to get the attention of the authorities or police. And I guess one thing too, it might be that his investment or why he gets involved isn't so much that he cares about people getting killed or people going missing. It's more or less the idea that the spam that keeps coming to he's noticing maybe the spam. He's like, these things, he may have somehow stumbled across or seen some spam. Go ahead, Nate.
Well, I was gonna say, what if he's a hacker, and maybe we have it that he has a day job where he works at a security firm or what have you. Sure. But let's also let's put him in the Neo world where he also is a little nefarious on the side, but nothing too hinky. And one of his marks that he was trying to get, and that he was really looking forward to getting, becomes a victim.
Yes.
And he is like, I wanted that. And so
must be in my territory. Yes.
Yeah. And so then he goes
I like that a lot.
And then finds this and then starts chasing it down.
Yes, exactly.
I like it.
He's losing money. You're costing him his money.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And also it may be too, it may be a matter of pride as far as like whoever designed this program is better than his program. The hobgoblin, I'm just calling it a hobgoblin. The hobgoblin creature may have designed a spam program that's better than our elf character. And at first he's like, it's a matter of pride. Like, how dare you build something better than me? I'm going to find you to just beat you up or to stop you, whatever it might be. Yeah. And then he kind of stumbled across the idea it's a much bigger thing. So his arc is kind of the idea of him actually kind of caring about something besides himself enough to do something to help somebody else, even if it's inadvertently kind of thing. Yeah. So this isn't as much good versus evil as it is like evil versus amoral. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like it. I'm thinking like he can see some code that just doesn't make sense. It was like, that's not possible. Like,
right.
How is that happening? And he just starts following the code and sees like, this has been happening all over this forest. Like, just kind of gets himself deeper and deeper into it.
We have to do the revelation scene where he's tracking the code. He's tracking the code. He's walking around. And once he gets to the forest, he looks and he kind of sees all this code in the forest. He's like, oh no. He realizes the same way in the Matrix when Neo first wakes up, and you realize it seems like a vast, endless amount of the pods. It's similar to where our we can just call him Neo for now. Our Neo elf essentially looks in the forest and kind of sees all this code or whatnot, this magical code, realizing there's something bizarrely hinky going on there. Something like that. Yeah, really work. Yeah.
Maybe one of the things that gets him onto the forest is he's trying to figure it out, trying to find the source and everything, and then he happens to be walking through the park as like you do, and he notices that a part of the code, and it could be like some sort of like glyph of some sort, and throw it and see it on a tree, like it's carved into a tree, and he's like, wait a minute, what? And then he rolls with that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and he sees like the stream of code that doesn't make sense to him literally on a tree. That would be crazy. That would definitely.
That's awesome.
That's kind of the way kind of the same way you can put an incantation on a place, like to make a place a house safe or something like that. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I have two questions here. One is actually from the chat. Does this main character have a family? That's one question that we probably want to answer. But the other piece is, how much is magic in this world? Those are two things. I think the magic thing, like, is this a thing where he's like, it's like our world just in the future and magic isn't a thing, and then it's being revealed to him that this character is magical? Or is it a thing where they know magic exists and it can be merged with technology? And then family.
I'm kind of leaning towards the second one because we already have like elves and weird goblin creatures. I think probably it's just that this society just hasn't really seen the kind of violence and creepy stuff that that our villain is bringing to it.
Yes. I completely agree. I saw that too, as far as like the idea that in times of old, the magic would do this type of stuff. They would just use magic to do basic type of simple things. And then they've actually said, let's combine the technology, crazy technology, with our magic to do things that go even further beyond what you'd ever seen before in past fantasy.
It could just be that magic exists, but it's very, very difficult to master.
Yeah. So it's still very present. Or like you said, it could be those. Go ahead, Nate.
Well, I was going to say we could go the Han Solo route, where where when he's like, the Jedi, that's a fake thing. That's an old wives' tale that they use. But in reality, no, they really were magical, like in the past, and then technology just kind of overtook it. But it's still there, Another thought.
Yes, that's how I see it. I see it also in a way pushing that little. Go ahead, no, go ahead.
I was thinking like maybe we could kind of make it semi-metaphorical, and like like the more you get into the technology, the more like that chip kind of like it works into you, the less like the less magic you can use. So like the people that like
you become
really
more reliant on technology as opposed to. I like that idea a lot, and that's what I was going to say. Essentially, was that the magic still 100% exists, but people have gotten so kind of like in our modern world, how we've gotten so reliant on technology that we've forgotten how to brush our teeth. It's similar to in this world that people have gotten so reliant on this technology that they've kind of abandoned the ways of old as far as magic goes. So magic, and some people even believe it never even existed to begin with. So yeah, I like that idea a lot. And I think the idea with our hobgoblin and him and his mom living out in the middle of nowhere, they only use magic. They don't use any extra tech. They're off the grid. They only use magic. So their stuff is that much more powerful. But they found a way to get magic powerful enough to, of course, use spam or things like that, possibly. So they still are aware of the magic, but it's almost like incantations they're using to infect code, to spread this type of stuff. But their magic is so much, and that's why no one else is tracking these guys down, because they're using magic as opposed to just basic, things that detectives and regular cops.
Wow, that would be dope. Like the police came through this forest, like, there's no code in here, so they can't even see it.
They don't even see it.
Yeah.
They don't even see it.
Yeah, I like that.
See it. So yeah, and I guess that's our main character does. He actually knows both. He does practice magic as well, so he's able to see these things and whatnot. But he's not reliant on it, so that's why he's a spoiler, because he can kind of be in both worlds. And answering the other question from the chat, though, as far as the family, my first thought was going kind of the light Yagami way from Death Note, is that this main character's dad is a cop or is somehow involved in the police or what have you, but they don't get along. So as he's telling his dad these things are happening, his dad is very much pushing back against it, essentially. Which and that kind of that strife in that family is what's caused our spoiler to be that much more insular, that much more of a kind of just ostracized person that lives on the web or lives on doing that kind of stuff while he's doing these type of things, trying to spam himself and be a kind of a hacker.
Well, I'm into that. I mean, I can't say no to anything related to Death Note, so.
Right.
Yeah, I can say no to second season of Death Note.
Okay, true. True.
Got so much beef after Elle dies. Spoiler alert.
I can say no to the movie. We're not going to talk about that.
It doesn't exist. That and Avatar: Last Airbender do not exist. And Spider-Man 2 with Jamie Foxx, none of them exist. None of them exist.
I will say the Japanese live action movie is actually pretty good. I'm sorry.
Some of them.
Yes. Yeah, for the most part, yes. Sorry, referring to the Netflix movie. I'm sorry. The movie we do not speak about, which I just spoke about, so I'm going to shut up about it.
The movie that shall not be named.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
That.
Well, I had thought of sorry to left turn us back. But
He gets back on track. Yeah, right.
Because I had the idea that and forgive me if somebody said this, because this sometimes happens to me, is that I have rolling blackouts. But maybe having it be where a spoiler character doesn't have the chip.
Yes, the chip is voluntary.
Yeah. Why would he have the chip?
Any
Because
text,
he's paranoid.
You choose to have it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's 100% agree. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
No,
100%.
forgive me. Did somebody else say that? Because I don't want to take credit for an idea that somebody else said. Okay.
Otis said it first, then Ari said it, and I said it next.
Okay. And then I said it. So now
then he said it
we're just going to pretend that I was just reiterating your ideas.
No one said it. No one said it first. No one said it. But yeah, I love that idea. And that's also one thing I love about it too. The theme of this is literally a hobgoblin and his mom versus an elf and his dad, kind of essentially. It's mama problems or mommy issues versus daddy issues. What happens, and these two are against each other. Yeah.
Excellent.
This is dope. I'm loving the art, man. Ari, you are so talented. I'm just watching you make this like Jesus. This is so dope.
Most people don't actually. Most people watch this on mute and just watch Ari's art and have no idea what Dave and I sound like.
I would, damn near.
It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. And on that glorious note, I believe we're nearing the end of our act. So that's pretty much the setup for Act 1. We're set up for Act 1. I think.
So we've got the just to kind of ground us. So we have it's set in the forest. We've got a hobgoblin-like creature who has a secret lair where his evil and monstrous mother lives. He lures them in. And we actually and real quick, I'm gonna shift to the chat, because the chat has, would anyone be able to see the code if they didn't have the chip, or is he special? I think I have an idea for this, and you know how I mentioned it carved into the tree? Maybe it's a thing, if you have the chip, you can't see the carving, but if you don't have the chip, you can. And so that's what gets
it blinds you. Essentially, having that chip causes a blindness, or part of the tech, the spell that the killer and his mom did.
Yeah,
works that way. So only those that don't have can see the actual code. Essentially, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, what he sees.
I just thought about it. I'm sorry. One more thing I gotta add.
Oh no, cool.
What if how you get the notification or whatever? You have to touch one of these trees that have the code on
exact
it.
Yes, like a barcode, things you scan through your phone. Yes, exactly. And it's obviously just your eye doing it, but it's the exact same thing. Yes. And that's why it's so hard for anyone to detect these things, because they're almost written in like those 3D pictures that used to exist in the 90s that made one go crazy. It's like written in that kind of stuff. So you almost can't even detect it or see it. But our main character, because he doesn't have the chip, because he is a sleuth essentially himself, he can. He's able to kind of piece these things together. So it's pretty much he's trying to chase an invisible killer and trying to prove it to a world where they have the technology preventing them from seeing it to begin with. So he's literally left by himself hunting this guy. No one else is actually literally capable of fighting him, chasing or fighting the Mads Goblin.
Yeah.
Mads Goblin. We're calling him.
So I really like that. So okay, so we have the Hobgoblin Cove, evil mother, eating people, spam. That's was word salad right there. And then we have our main character, who's the spoiler, is he does not have this chip that everybody else has in the world that makes these people susceptible to this spam, where he isn't. He finds, like, he had a mark. He's a hacker himself. He had a mark. The mark becomes a victim. He gets ticked off, chases the hobgoblin guy, and then discovers this whole thing. And then it, and
that's where we end. That's the end of Act 1.
Yeah.
That's what it says. It says to be continued. Shenanigans ensue. It ends with him actually getting to the forest and seeing the code and realizing that every tree out there. It's essentially seeing that. Remember in those, I know Otis and Ari know this, the Japanese forest where it's like the suicide forest, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
It's a massive forest. It's something like that, where he sees all these trees, a whole massive forest, Rivendell forest of trees. And he sees all these codes on them and realizes that must mean they're all countless victims or whatnot, essentially. Yeah.
And then we have a thing happening a little later where he sees ants marching Dave Matthews. Ants marching, and that makes him realize, oh, there's a queen.
There has to be going towards someone. And Nate, you said you were gonna omit the part in the podcast where I said a pile of shit with a fly on it.
No, it's immortalized, Ethan. You can't escape it.
Actually, okay. You went and reminded everybody of it, so I'm just gonna.
It's my first time and my last time. I'm firing myself, and Otis is permanent.
Yes. Okay, well, I think that that pretty much wraps up Act 1. So we're going to be, so we just need to tie up some other stuff next week in Act 2 and 3.
Right on. As my favorite part of every episode is to give a little bit of a description of Ari's, the dessert. Give a little bit of description of Ari's artwork. And as Otis is our special guest, I will let him have first crack at it. So Otis, if you could describe these characters, what you think, who you'd cast to play these people that you see, and describe how they look.
Well, the younger one, that's definitely going to be our protagonist. I'm trying to think who would play him. I don't know. Maybe Jacob Lattimore? That's the first person that comes to mind. Looking at
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, he's very. Jacob Lattimore is very pretty. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I love that art. There are two. See, and this is the problem. This is the old man brain happening in up here. There are two actors that I'm seeing in both of those roles, and I don't know their names. I can't remember them.
Is one of them Andy Serkis as Gollum?
Yeah, close, but no. I'm trying to think. Oh, there's and the problem. I'm not going to be able to think of the other one, our protagonist one, because it's like an actor who was like in probably a kid's show my daughter watched like 7 weeks ago that is just floating in the back of my brain, and just the glasses look like it. So
Yeah. Well, the one that came to mind first was your daughter's shows. The first one that came to mind was Shamik Moore. Shamik Moore is the guy who played. He was in Dope, and he was in the Wu-Tang American Saga, and he was also the voice of Miles Morales in Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. He's the Get Down. Yeah. Yes. That's who I see as our protagonist. As our the Mads Goblin character, I would say you're not gonna like it, but I'll say it anyways. I would just see mid-90s Robert Pattinson or something.
I respect him as a person and an actor. I do not respect his character in Twilight. That's all.
That choice. I do not respect his agent for getting that work, but yeah, I respect him.
Sorry. You go ahead. I have a thing for the Goblin guy, but you go ahead and finish your thought.
Okay. My thought was, Ari, did you have a thought?
No, frequently I do not think.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Well,
we're done.
Ezra Miller.
Oh,
yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
I'm into that.
That's yep.
Yeah.
That's it. That's him. Yeah. Good job. That's him.
Glad I could help.
Jacob Lattimore and Ezra Miller. But now we, because it's Ezra Miller, we have to kill the hell out of him in the next episode.
Well, yeah.
Please.
Once upon a time, our storytellers gather, bringing with them only a set of dice, a scroll of magical story elements